Bienvenidos a Poder, your go-to podcast where we break down environmental justice, climate action, and how these policies impact our Latinx communities. I'm Brianna Guerrero, and today we're diving into a topic that's right on time. Tax season is around the corner, and the Inflation Reduction Act, better known as the IRA, and rebates are on the table. There's a lot to talk about today, and so we have two amazing guests, both Nancy and Elice. Very happy to be joining us, both from advocates of Arizona. And we're gonna dive deep into what is known as tax season and how I know it could be very overwhelming for some folks. It's something that all of us have to do, and we cannot forget to do it. With that being said, remember the deadline is April 15th to file your taxes. But we want to provide how is the IRA a historic investment in clean energy and climate-friendly initiatives. But with recent political shifts, where are things at? I myself am confused. Also, a little things are changing every day. We have new stuff coming out. So we want to talk to you today about that and how you can still claim these tax breaks. But not only that, what are the rebates and energy efficient appliances that also apply with this? So today we'll break it down, like we said. What are the benefits that are still available to you and your family? And what you need to know before filing your taxes, and how we can better make sure that we take advantage of these rebates before any rollbacks happen on them. So I'm going to pass the mic to our guests today to introduce themselves. We're going to start off with Nancy Herrera, who is here joining us from Arizona.
Thank you for that, Brianna, and thank you for reminding me that tax season is approaching quickly, right? 5 days until we need to make sure we file our taxes. So, Nancy Herrera, State Program Director here for Poder Latinx in the state of Arizona. Thank you for the invite.
Hola, mi nombre es Elice Rojas-Cruz. I'm with Climate Power En Acción, and I'm here today to talk a little bit more about the environmental policy side of things and just exactly what the IRA brought to Latinos. And yeah, excited to be here. This has all been really confusing this year, so everything's confusing all the time. So I'm excited to help hopefully clear some of this up with y'all.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. I hope that our audience will check out the description down below for how to find you and the work that you do, but also your organizations and how they can better get involved and take action with you this upcoming year. I know there's a lot happening, like we keep saying, but we want to make sure that we provide space for y'all to understand how you can participate and advocate. So to help us break it down, we're going to jump right into the questions, the things that we all want to know, maximizing our IRA benefits beyond tax season, right? What does that mean for folks? So even though tax season has passed and we're still, there's still opportunities for people to claim tax credits or benefits from the IRA, what should they keep in mind for next year when they're filing and the documents that they should save?
Sure. So the Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law by then President Joe Biden in 2022. It provided billions of dollars in direct aid to businesses and local and state governments to start clean energy projects, many of which of them included manufacturing. We've seen a ton of benefits come from the savings that you could possibly get, but also better and green jobs, better paying jobs, and also tax credits that we've seen towards things like electric vehicles, more energy efficient appliances, home renovations to improve insulation and energy use. So there's a wide range of things that the Inflation Reduction Act was able to bring to Latino communities, especially, and to also help people save along the way. I will mention, right now, the Inflation Reduction Act's future is in limbo. I think that's the most difficult part of all of this. And so there's court orders going on to try to reinstate them. We don't know what next year will look like, but I highly recommend saving any kind of receipts, any kind of, if you get solar panels, if you upgrade the insulation in your home, to make sure that you save all the paperwork, because we just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, and the administration is currently trying to end these provisions, but our hope is that we can continue to save and also continue to improve our homes for the best of everyone.
Thank you so much for laying that out for us. Nancy, do you want to provide any perspective on kind of what you're hearing out in the ground?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that information. Here in Arizona, in February of this year, the Governor's Office of Resilience announced a temporary suspension. We didn't understand what that meant, whether, it was completely off the table, families could no longer access the benefits or what was happening. But due to uncertainty surrounding the federal grant funding, the program initially launched in August in 2024. Aimed to provide rebates up to $8,000 for eligible Arizonians to replace non-functioning air conditioning units with sufficient heat pumps. And, in Arizona with the current heat wave and the high temperatures, that is something that every family is seeking to obtain, and that was really looking forward to. So pause affected approximately 20,000 plus households, and the project is still on limbo and still on hold. There has been a preliminary lift on the hold of the rebates, but currently the process is very slow to pick back up and have all those rebates accessible to families here in Arizona.
Thank y'all for sharing that information. Do you think there's anywhere that we can point our audience to making sure that if they have any follow-up questions or if they needed to research anything, is there somewhere that we could point them for more information?
Yeah, so in terms of resources, you can always look at the IRS website. There's this page specifically that shows you residential clean energy credits. So we'll make sure to share that. And we'll also talk a little bit more about the specifics in a little bit about those rebates.
Individuals can always go into the Arizona Governor's Office of Resilience website, resilient.az.gov for further information. And of course, always visit our page at poderlatinx.org for more updates and ways to understand the direction of the IRA and where we're at with current funding and program eligibility.
Awesome. And with that being said, that kind of leads us into our next question. Are rebates and initiatives for energy efficient appliances still available? Is that something that people can still report? But also, what are the steps that they should take in Arizona residents specifically to make sure that they can access these funds and make their homes more sustainable?
There are still tax credits available for purchasing electric vehicles, but eligibility and how much is covered depends on a couple different factors, including income, the type of vehicle that you get, and there's other guidelines that you can look up at fueleconomy.gov. But in terms of home energy rebates, what we just mentioned, for things like heat pumps, stoves, dryers, it's currently in limbo. We don't really know what's going to happen to them. Because of the funds that were frozen earlier this year. Some states are moving ahead with them, some aren't, I'd say, and you all might know more about Arizona specifically, but in Arizona, the federal funding cuts paused about $153 million in home energy rebate program. So we are concerned about that and wanting to make sure that we get that money that was allocated to the state to people who really need those, to people who really need to save on costs like that. So I will also mention the clean energy tax credit is still available. It covers anything that's like renewable clean energy purchases for your homes, such as solar, wind, geothermal, or battery storage technology. So you can find out more about those residential clean energy tax credits at irs.gov, and you'll find like any kind of forms, qualifications, anything you might need around that. They're also available in Spanish.
Yeah, for Arizona, the Governor's Office of Resiliency has reinstated the Efficiency Arizona program, again, on a limited basis to serve the immediate needs of Arizonians ahead of the summer. But these are applications that have already been in process or were in process. Currently, they are pausing new applications, and they don't know when the program will reopen again for new applicants. So again, we're on a standstill, we're on a hold to see when these available programs will be up and going for all Arizonians.
I definitely love that y'all mentioned this because it can be very uncertain feeling, right? Like if you're listening to this and you made intentional decisions for sustainable choices in the last year and you were expecting a rebate, a tax credit, it can definitely be frustrating to hear that there's just a lot of it up in the air. I don't know if y'all have anything to share with our audience just to respond to that feeling that they might be having at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we are such in a space of uncertainty right now that I myself, feel that anguish, that anger, and that frustration because as Poder Latinx, we're in the community organizing, mobilizing, educating, getting the community set up for success for these programs. And unfortunately, they're not moving forward. We as an organization are doing as much as we can with being proactive, attending meetings, being on the know of what's happening at a federal level and bringing that information back to our community. So Latinx families are in the front line of climate change, of this crisis. We are feeling the higher energy bills, extreme heat, the lack of access of clean water and energy as well. And with pausing these rebates, this economic infrastructure that was set up for success, it hurts our community all around. And I just don't have any words for my community right now other than let's continue to be resilient. Let's continue to be proactive and engage with organizations like ourselves, like ours, that are, advocating and keep pushing for the IRA to continue to be in fruition and be a part of, the larger evolution of the state and the country in a whole.
I love that you mentioned that, Nancy, because I was just talking to someone earlier today about how our the what we thought were going to be savings, or what we thought the money that we thought we were going to be able to use for other things like investing in our children, our families, our healthcare, our groceries, like things that are also like, with the inflation we're experiencing and the rise of costs that we're seeing happening everywhere right now. We're already thinking about ways to save money, and like, especially for our communities, this means like not being able to buy the groceries that you need in a week for your whole family, or not being able to send your child to the doctor or get these medications that are critical based on that happen often because of the effects of climate change. So I think it's hard to think about where we're going to save now if we don't have these tax credits and these rebates that we were expecting. I will say, like, the making the change to these like more energy efficient household appliances to electric vehicles are great for our environment, and I'm glad for everyone who's like made those advancements for their home. But it can be really disappointing, and having to look forward to this future where like we have to make these really hard decisions and not have the savings that we were expecting is really difficult.
Yes, and I think we could all agree, even our listeners, money is tight. Money is tight in a lot of different places, whether it's your pockets, your home, your business. Federally, it's just tight. And so with that statement being said, as we support our comunidad during tax season, whether it's, through education, canvassing, or digital outreach, how can we better inform Latinx families about the benefits that they might qualify for under the Inflation Reduction Act? I know with a lot of the changes that are happening, but what are some of the real life ways we're seeing that the IRA shows up in our communities, especially when it comes to clean energy and initiatives that help our community save money?
So the EPA put out a bunch of grants, basically that nearly $5 billion in grants to states, local governments, tribes, territories to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful air pollution. Um, Again, with the federal funding cuts that are happening right now, a lot of that money is tied up in court cases and deciding whether or not we can actually use that funding. But in terms of the effects that we've already seen, uh, there's been a clean school bus program going on in several states. They provided over $5 billion for 5 years to replace existing school buses with zero emission and clean buses. A lot of that money has already been distributed, so like that is something that it seems like such a small change, but it really can make such a difference in areas that have like high air pollution, especially around our children.
Nancy, did you want to share with us how is it that we're able to communicate to our community who might not know about the IRA and or the initiatives that exist under it? How do we bridge that for our community to understand that they are eligible for these?
Absolutely. So, some ways that we've been bringing this information to the forefront to our communities here in the state of Arizona is by holding cafecitos, with working families, mothers, small business owners who would have benefit from these initiatives and these grants, bringing that information to them directly so they can also be a catalyst in helping spread the word and bringing more and mobilize more individuals to be proactive and be engaged and wanting to participate in this movement. Poder Latinx has been in the forefront with the Office of Resilience, having meetings, one-on-ones, discussing, what is the most effective way to reach our Latinx community. Just as it was mentioned earlier, with language accessibility, that's the number one criteria that holds back folks into applying for any type of initiatives, right? Whether it be these grants or anything else, when it's not language accessible. So having that component in place and knowing that that is there to aid our community to be able to take advantage of these opportunities is instrumental. We also do webinars, just as we're doing right now, to discuss topics that are of utmost importance and that need to be brought into the forefront. We do table outreach. We have great partnerships with multiple health clinics that serve Latinx community, and that where we can bring this information to them. So we're meeting our community where they're at and being accessible to them with the information that most resonates to them in their language and their culture to better understand and again be proactive into taking advantage of what is available in the state.
Definitely well said, and I feel like it goes hand in hand with what Elice said, right? Just like the school buses that were created with clean energy in mind, making sure that our kids are getting to school on time, they have access to get to that, and then also the school buses are driving through neighborhoods that are more than likely predominantly Latinx. We have to breathe those pollutants that come out of buses, and so, like how Nancy's saying, it's important for us to just bridge this and really understand and paint the picture for our community who just doesn't have access to understanding this. They've got other things that they have going on. And so I feel like this is exactly what is preaching to the importance of keeping environmental protections just like this, like the IRA. And I'm going to be just straight up, like flat out real. Like it doesn't really make any sense why we're rolling back this, right? It's intentional. It's thinking both about our future, how to sustain it, and our environment. And I don't agree with why we are taking money away from that, right? So definitely will say, if y'all have anything else to add to those feelings, let me know.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to reconcile with. These are savings and opportunities for Latino communities that we really need, that we need as a society, and like taking back some of the like great things that came out of the IRA is really for like the sake of saving money or like reducing waste in the government has just been really disappointing, because in reality these are only doing like good things for our communities and they benefit everyone ultimately, not just Latino communities. It's been really disappointing seeing this, but I will say there is hope. I think a lot of people are paying attention, and one of the things that Climate Power En Acción does in particular is that we try to take all this like complicated situation that we're going through and try to simplify it and make it understandable, and really trying to make the impacts of this back and forth, these changes, these funding cuts tangible to people, to like real people, and not just like these people in Washington, D.C. trying to make all these changes without explaining what's happening. So we really try to like simplify that messaging, make sure that like our communities know exactly what's happening in both English and Spanish, and making sure that like we are communicating everything as best as possible so that we know what we're losing and we know how we need to fight back as well.
I just like to add that, I'm on the same page as Elice. We need to bring this information to our community for them to understand what we're missing out on, and all the great opportunities that we had with the IRA, right? Energy efficiency credit rebates, affordable health care, just like it was mentioned earlier on, which was one of the big, if not the number one amplifier of the IRA. It supported small businesses, job creation for green industries, tax help in education. Again, the bottom line, it was an economic component that would have aided many of us in many different sectors, and also alleviate, some of the monetary costs for not just medications, again, but to have better insulated homes and better alternatives. And again, be proactive into taking advantage of what is available in the state.
Okay, we'll be right back after this short commercial break. This episode was produced in partnership with Climate Action Campaign. For more information on climate wins and how to defend our climate, please visit www.actonclimate.com. Thank you. And now back to the episode. So we want to share with our audience some call to actions. How can they get involved? If you're listening to this and you're feeling just really emotional or, passionate about the subject, or if you're also learning about this for the first time, it's okay. We want you to continue the conversation for us in your communities. So overall, how can we as constituents, advocates, uphold these benefits for the health of our economy and our overall environment?
For Poder Latinx, you can find us on all our social media platforms, poderlatinx.org, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok as well. It's important to be engaged in any way, shape, or form. We do advocacy days at the Capitol that you can join as well to come talk to your representatives one-on-one. Let them know about your concerns within not just yourself, but your community as a whole. And Earth Month is this month in April. So we are hosting Earth Month events April 19th at El Prado Park in South Phoenix from 3 to 6. A lot of great activities, a lot of information to learn how to be proactive with climate justice and understanding further about the IRA. And then we have another activity with young folks on April 22nd at Glendale Community College.
That's so nice to hear that you're having so many events around Earth Month. We're very excited about Earth Month as well at Climate Power. I'll just add on a larger scale of things. You can always stay up to date on our Climate Power website. We have everything there from press releases where we talk about like the latest on what's going on in English and in Spanish. We have calls to action on our homepage at Climate Power, depending on what's going on. And I think the biggest things right now are to make sure that your voices are being heard. We are in a time where not only are they trying to take away these benefits and this money that like we've been promised in rebates and savings, but they're also trying to quiet people down and not have them speak out about these things. They just think that they can take the stuff away without us reacting to it. And so make sure that you're calling your members of Congress, calling your senators, letting them know that you're not happy about this, especially I think right now around tax season. Like, tell them that you were expecting to get these benefits and that you don't know where this stands now. They need to hear those things from their constituents. And then the other thing I'll add is also like go to your local legislators, make sure that they know what's going on. Your mayors, your governors, anyone who is working for you locally in any kind of capacity. We can definitely there is room to change things within our states, and there are already states that are changing because of this, and changing their rules, knowing that like we can't always rely on the federal government when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it just changes every administration. So yeah, definitely make your voice heard and make sure that they know what's going on and how these changes are harming you.
Yes, I love that, Elice. I like to echo that times 10. It is very important that we advocate for a stronger future and that we are proactive, that we are coming out, that we're speaking up. Get your friends, your families involved. Everyone is welcome to join Poder Latinx here in the state of Arizona and be an advocate for a stronger future and building resilience. And the best way to do that is through the ballot box. So if you're not registered to vote, I encourage you to register with us or register online. Be proactive and be ready, because we are the ones in charge who set these individuals in these decision-making powers, and we also have to hold them accountable. So thank you for amplifying, Elice, the importance of being proactive, being engaged, and advocating stronger future for all.
Thank y'all so much for those positive and motivating words. I think it's definitely important to keep those in mind. It's a heavy topic to talk about. Money is a serious topic, with folks. And so remembering how do we make sure to continue to advocate for our communities. And like we said it here, it's, through registering to vote, through taking action, creating spaces where you keep this conversation going. Also amplifying it on your own social media accounts, making sure that others are aware of the links and stuff that we're sharing here today. But also, if you see things that you think other folks might not know, share it. Likelihood is that they might not know it as well. But definitely just keep the conversation going, keep it alive. And like how Nancy just said, these policymakers, these folks in Congress and Senate, they work for us, the people. And if they're not thinking about ways in which our future and our health are going to be successful and sustainable for years to come, then that's a problem, right? And I think we definitely have to show up to those places where we can have those conversations with them. But anything else that y'all want to leave our listeners and viewers with before we head out?
Again, I would just encourage everyone to stay engaged and follow us on all our social media platforms. Be proactive. Come join us in our events. Come join us at the Arizona State Capitol for our lobby days. There's going to be a recess coming soon. We are going to be connecting with our congressmen and congresswomen, again, for the accountability piece, letting them know how unsatisfied we are and measures that they should be taken and representing for the state of Arizona and their constituents. So thank you so much for this time and this opportunity to be on the podcast. Follow us again at poderlatinx.org on all our social media platforms, and I'm looking forward to engaging with new members.
And there you'll have it, folks. We're at the end of the episode. And again, our call to action is always going to be for you to participate and join us in the CAC, the Climate Action Campaign. So below, we have been pushing for a petition to save clean energy. There's still time for you to participate. That's our call to action this Earth Month. So we invite you to sign the petition, get involved. I'm asking you today, text this to 5 other people, send it, repost it, or if you see it on our websites, engage with it. So definitely please sign the petition. And yeah, we're excited to be here for another Ecopoder podcast episode. Very happy to have our guests. Elice, thank you for joining us here at Poder Latinx. Nancy and I are so happy to have hosted you. Hopefully you can join us in the future, as well as Climate Power En Acción. We hope to see y'all again down the line at the podcast. But ahí los dejo. I hope that y'all enjoy your time in April. Get active. Join the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brought to you by Climate Action Campaign and Poder Latinx.